Faithless Hijabi provides a supportive community for young people who have left the faith, along with access to mental health services and resources. But they need your help to continue their important work. Please consider donating to Faithless Hijabi and help make a difference in the lives of these young people. Together, we can provide them with the support they need to heal and thrive.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to go ahead and introduce this upcoming guest. It's going to be Katie from Queer Indian Atheist, a great YouTube channel. I was on there a couple of years ago, and she does tremendous work working to expose the harm of Hinduism, the third largest yet, one of the least talked about religions, especially within the context of harmful religions or religions that can cause harm. And she's also worked alongside multiple Atheist Republic videos, working for them about Hinduism. And so it is, an absolute honor to be able to introduce Katie. Katie, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Vincent. Hi, Seyyid.
Hi, Katie.
How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Seyyid. And it's been a long time since I last talked to Vincent.
Oh my
It's been
gosh,
so
it's been so
long.
long. I
Yeah,
said last year, but it turns out it was like 2 years ago,
it
right?
was 2 years ago. It was 2021 Atheist Day, so it's been over 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have also been inactive on my channel, so I'm trying to get my channel back up as well. So yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's great to be able to have you on. And, the reason I'm very happy that you're on is, for one, I think it was you alongside the great folks at Atheist Republic, Armin Ababi and Susanna, of course. It was it was the incident that occurred with the whole Hindutva fiasco of the Draw Kali picture that really kind of opened my eyes up to what was really going on within the Hindu world, what's going on with the Hindutva, what's going on in India. So I'm very excited that we're able to have you on here. We have some great questions that I think we'll be able to kind of be able to really illuminate what exactly is going on there. So once again, really appreciate you coming along.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I'm like very honored to be here on the same show as some of like really great atheist activists that I know of. So it's been such an honor for me.
Perfect. Okay. Vincent, do you want to take it away with the first question? Or
Yeah, I could go ahead and ask. So I guess I was wondering if you would be able to give us, for the first question, a brief summary, basically, of how emboldened the Hindutva have gotten under Modi, and how has the relationship between the government and religious minorities changed in recent years, and what are some of the key challenges faced by these communities?
Uh-huh. Would you mind if I share my screen?
Yeah, I believe I
course,
should
go
be
ahead.
able to.
All right. One sec. So I just made. I think it should be in the yeah. I made a small presentation kind of thing for this. And first, before discussing how important and everything, I would like to just explain what Hindutva is, because I'm imagining a lot of the audience are not Indians and they might not have an idea. So first of all, Hindutva is like the literal word Hindutva translates to Hinduness, and Hindutva is basically a political ideology that was formulated by the founder of this movement, Vinayak Savarkar, this dude here. In 1923, it's a movement seeking to establish hegemony of Hindus and Hinduism within India. There's another concept within Hindutva called the Akhand Bharat, which translates to United India. The goal of this is to extend this hegemony to beyond the borders of modern India into the entire cultural Indosphere, as we call it, which is a range that may vary depending upon the individual you're talking to. It can stretch anywhere between like just the entire Indian subcontinent or to some nonsensically large regions, as you can see here, that is from like Eastern Europe to covering all of Southeast Asia. So this is basically what Hindutva is in brief. And coming to Modi, like under the Modi dictatorship, as I would like to call it, this is Modi. His victory, he became the Prime Minister of India in 2014. And this was the first time in 3 decades in the history of independent India that one single party had won an absolute majority of the seats in the parliament. At the time, Indians were largely sick of the slow economic growth of the country under the Congress Party, which was the previous ruling party. This landslide victory was a result basically of a very smart campaigning strategy that could reach to the growing tech savvy youth of the country, like via the means of social media. And the youth population, the working youth population, is ever growing in this country. So that was one of the key reasons this party won. And Modi is a member of the RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which is a Hindu nationalist organization. The BJP, which is the current political party ruling this country, is the political wing of the RSS. And there's another wing called the Bajrang Dal, which are basically the foot soldiers of this organization. The goal of this organization is to propagate Hindutva ideology. With the victory of Modi, the ideology of Hindutva basically entered Indian politics, like the mainstream of Indian politics. Now, sorry, that was not. Hold on, you can like put down the thing. Put down the thing for now, uh, but so I'm sorry. Yeah. So uh, after like since Hindutva entered like mainstream politics in India, like with his 2014 victory, we have been gradually seeing the rise of Hindutva narratives in politics. It's not all of a sudden like overnight. It did not happen. It was a very growing voter base of like young voters. Actually, it's not what we would imagine. Like okay, the older generation conservatives. It's like a very young voting base of the conservatives. That is the most reason. That is the major reason for this party's victory. And we slowly started seeing a growth in people blindly following the lead of Modi, and they would defend Modi at all cost, defend him against any criticism, any slander, anything at all. In 2019, Modi got re-elected as the prime minister with another landslide victory. It happened in May, and soon after this re-election in June 2019, we had the first, one of the first, not the first, one of the first major cases of a mob lynching, a Hindu mob lynching. Can you bring up the slide again? This guy here, his name was Tabriz Ansari. He was a 24-year-old from a Muslim background. A video of him quickly became viral on social media. The video had him tied up, bleeding, hands folded, and he was being lynched by a Hindu mob. He was beaten for 4 hours straight and was forced to chant Jai Shri Ram, which translates to glory to Lord Ram. For people who don't understand, this is the what I like to call the Hindu equivalent of Allahu Akbar. Um, so the day after the incident, the police were notified of it, and guess what the police did? They arrested the victim. They arrested this guy instead of the culprits. This guy was arrested. His family begged to get him medically treated for all the severe injuries that he faced. However, the police denied any medical treatment. Some sources even say that his family was threatened by the police with a similar fate if they did not stop. Only days later, he was imprisoned, and only days later, he was admitted to hospital because his condition was extremely severe. But by the time his relatives reached the hospital to check him out, he was already passed away. The medical report concluded that he suffered a skull fracture and other injuries that led to a cardiac arrest. But few days later, like there were 11 people who were lynching him, and they were arrested, including 2 policemen who were suspended for ignoring the pleas of arresting these culprits. So they were arrested and the policemen suspended. But just a couple of months later, all the charges against all of them were dropped. All of them, the charges of against the victims, against the culprits, they were dropped. And the police, basically what the police did was they changed the report of him dying from skull fracture. Like they just, like, instead of mentioning skull fracture and other external injuries. They just
Yeah.
said, oh, he died of a cardiac arrest. There was no violence involved. So the
Wow.
murder charges were dropped. On uproar, like there was a huge uproar about this on social media. So the police decided to reinvoke some charges, but it was not murder charges. The reinvoking of the charges was milder charges like culpable homicide that did not amount to murder. And this was not the sole incident. This was maybe the one of the major incidents that started, but this was not the sole incident that happened in India at that time. And ever since, ever since Modi's rise to power, we have been seeing a growing number of incidents such as this. Like the victims are often arrested while the culprits roam free. Even when the culprits are arrested, they are set free on bail or the charges are dropped. There have been multiple footage of Hindutva leaders and politicians openly claiming they will take responsibility to set anyone free who gets arrested for violence against the enemies of Hinduism.
Wow.
This is just about the violence. But there was another move by the Modi government, and that was the infamous Citizenship Amendment Act, or the CAA, and the National Register of Citizens, the NRC. While the CAA offered eligibility for Indian citizenship to illegal migrants of Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi, and Christian religious minorities who had fled persecution from neighboring countries of Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. NRC would maintain an official record of all legal citizens of India, where individuals would need to provide a prescribed set of documents before a specified cutoff date to be included. This resulted in various protests all across the country. While CAA alone faced criticism for not including several minorities, such as the Tamil refugees from the Sri Lankan Civil War or the Rohingya Muslims who escaped the genocide in Myanmar. The combination of both CAA and NRC, the combination of these two could mean that Muslims could be rendered stateless by NRC, while the CAA would grant citizenship to non-Muslims. So basically, to make you understand what these two were doing is, the NRC would check, okay, does all of these people have those documents? A lot of poor people might not have these certain documents that were needed to become a citizen of India. A lot of them might have been illegal migrants due to wars in their own countries or whatever not, but all of them would be sent out of India, would be deported. But what CAA made sure was, oh, if you're not a Muslim, then you're getting back into India. So the only people who are ultimately affected are people from Muslim backgrounds. Be sure it's not just Muslims, but people from Muslim backgrounds, because India does not legally recognize atheism or apostasy unless you're moving into another religion. So ex-Muslim atheists who have not become religious in a different religion, they are also considered as Muslims by Indian laws.
So, sorry, if I could ask a question. So how,
Yeah.
what, like this kind of Hindutva revolution was obviously sparked by Modi, but what was kind of festering before Modi to make everyone kind of follow his lead and not just kick him out? So like what was happening before that? What was the situation there?
The situation, it was not like Modi in 2014, as far as I remember. I was a teenager back then, but from what I remember, it was not his hardcore Hindutva narrative that won him the 2014 elections. It was the promise of economical growth and other things that were not growing as much as they should. If I remember correctly, like one of the economists said, India had a 5% growth, while the youth, like we have like a huge population boom going on in India. So the rate we are getting more and more working young people, the rate of Indian economy was not being able to keep up with that. A liberal democracy with a liberal capitalism was not able to meet the demands of the ever-growing working population. The only way to achieve that was a very staunch authoritarian capitalistic government, which Modi offered, kind of. So that is what
That's what
made
he
the
ran on.
youth follow him. And after he came to power, then the Hindutva narrative slowly began to become mainstream into the politics. And shit went to hell in 2019 when he got re-elected.
Oh, I see. So before Modi, would you say that? Sorry, go ahead, Vincent.
Oh no.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. So before Modi, would you say that there was any sort of divide between Muslims and Hindu in general in India? Like, was this a thing, or
No,
was everyone just kind of living in harmony?
no. There was divide. There have always been a sort of religious tension in India.
Even in the
India,
everyday person, not political, but just
yes,
everyday.
yes.
Oh,
There has been for as long as I can remember, ever since. I think the main reason was the partition of India during
right.
the time of independence. But there has always been tensions. That there has been minor scale violences here and there. There has been like the one of the most major things were not one. Some of the most major things were the Gujarat riots, the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits. That was one thing. There have been things happening on scales like very often, but right now what we are seeing is a state-sponsored targeted attack against a specific community. So this was not the case. Like there were scuffles, there were like riots, there were a lot of things, but it was nothing to this extent. Today I have seen, this is of course an anecdote uh, of mine, but I have seen people who were not as anti, like Hindus in general in India had a very anti-Muslim attitude. Like, do not mix in with Muslims. Even the most liberal ones who would be like, okay, you can have Muslim friends, that's
Right.
fine. You cannot marry a Muslim. So there has always been. India is diverse, but the diversity comes with segregation.
Right.
Every
Those
community lives in
undertones.
its own segregated space. There's no mixing. Like there is mixing in urban areas, but considering 70% of India is rural, the
Right.
vast majority of India is segregated. So
And would you say that was the same on the Muslim side of things in India? Were Muslims
yes,
also
yes.
kind of wary of being amongst the Hindus there before Modi?
Yes, there were. I was quite young back then, so I don't remember exact instances of then. I can only remember things from now, like after the Modi era, because but back then I know like the majority of India likes to stay away from other communities. That is like even later on Pew Research and other surveys have shown that most religious communities don't like interfaith marriages. That's just a thing among every religious community. Christian, Hindu, Muslim is just common
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So everyone stayed segregated. But once again, since Modi came, we have been seeing violence on like a level that has been not like precedented in this century before. Like maybe once in one part of India, but not on a national scale.
So do you think that because of the Hindutva, I use this term loosely, but revolution, you can say, right? Do you think that has brought a rise in countering the Hindutva with Islamism in India?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Can you repeat that?
So as a response to the Hindutva uprising in India, right, by the Hindus, pretty much how have Muslims reacted to that? Have they been mostly oppressed, or have they been rising up with their own version of kind of Islamic fundamentalism and attacking, like retaliating, I should say? Like how are the Muslims reacting in India?
See if we can do a rapid fire too.
So yeah, I don't think there is Islamism in India, but I don't think there has been such a growth. I am afraid there will be, because one thing the far right is doing is pushing Muslim, like everyone in the Muslim community, to a bubble of their own. And I think staying inside this very conservative bubble that a lot of Muslim communities often tend to be, I think the conservatism can rise very freely in those bubbles. So I think we can see a rise, but we have not seen it to a huge extent yet. There have been certain individual occasions, but I don't think that's a national scale as of yet.
Well, Katie, it's been an absolute honor to be able to have you on. It was great hearing your perspective, and I think this was a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, the links to all your channels will be in the description of the video below. Once more, thank you so much, Katie.
Perfect. Thank you,
Thank
Katie,
you
for
for
providing
having
all
me.
that insight. All that insight was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.